All right. What is up, traders? What's up, tycoons? I want you guys to be prepared for the upcoming week. So we are going to go over the expected move for the SPY for the S&P 500 ETF. We'll take a look at some of the major levels, go over the gamma levels, the max pain levels, and then we'll take a look at the sigma moves. Okay, so basically double the expected move, as well as, as I mentioned, the gamma levels, so the call wall, the put wall, where max pain is, where zero gamma is. And then there's also some gaps to the downside, but surprisingly, we may not get those gap fills soon, or if we do, it's going to be a very large move, and there would need to be some type of catalyst to really drive us there, as the two gaps down on the SPY ETF are actually below the expected move for the week. So we'll break down all of this in a little bit more detail in today's video. But as always, the content provided on this channel is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to be relied upon as legal, financial, or investment advice. So be sure to read through the disclaimer. So here we are, just zoomed out a little bit, okay, taking a look at the SPY again. In yellow here, we have our 200-day moving average, and these blue lines are some anchored VWAPs, okay? We have one anchored to, the two previous highs that we had earlier this summer, right? And we've got one anchored to the beginning of the quarter and as well as the beginning of the month. So a monthly anchored VWAP, quarterly anchored VWAP, and then we've also got one anchored here to our bottoms over there. So we'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit and just kind of, now that we've got that out of the way. And initially, what I really thought was going to happen was, over the last week, I honestly thought we would get some type of a pullback. And, we were over here in this area, and I was expecting some type of a pullback back down, and potentially, to get those gap fills here, right? There's a gap in between these two candlesticks. There's a gap in between these two candlesticks on the daily time frame. These gaps, they do tend to fill about 90% of the time historically. The big question is when. And so with that potential setup in mind, we were looking to see if we could potentially get an inverse head and shoulders with a pullback to those areas and form potentially, that right shoulder after we have a left shoulder ahead, and that would put in our right shoulder there. But even with this large engulfing bearish candlestick right here, the market actually did push higher. Banks were closed Friday. I was expecting a little bit lower volume, but it seems that due to banks being closed, there really weren't any sellers present in the market. Now, we did have some Fed speakers. Janet Yellen spoke, a few things into the market, and maybe that's really the catalyst that we, needed to further rally. But if you take a look, we opened up right here at our anchored VWAP from the August highs, okay? And you can see that we basically held that area as support. We tried to dip down below, but buyers were very present and pushed the market up higher. So if we zoom in just a little bit more, okay, we can see here basically, the levels and the moves that we're looking at. We'll go down to a little bit of a smaller time frame for you guys so things can be a little bit more clear. Okay, and what do we see here? Well, the weekly expected move is going to be right around 447 for the SPY. Okay, and then that's the upper range, and the lower range is going to be right here at 434.14. Okay, so that is the weekly expected move for the SPY. And basically last week we got the entire expected move all on Friday. Okay, we pretty much opened up right in the middle of the opening range on Friday and almost hit the upper bound, or just a couple cents away from hitting the upper bound. Is really what we saw there. Now, what's really interesting to me, okay, is that if you take a look here, the zero gamma level is going to be at 435. So basically, we're in positive gamma territory, being north of there, being above 435. The call wall is up at 460, so we're not really too close. The previous call wall was 440. And if you take a look at where the SPY closed, we basically closed right at that 440 level right here. Okay, so the call wall will be pretty important to pay attention to, but we're very far away from it. I'm not expecting us to hit it. If we were to double the expected move to the upside, that would put us at 453.55. That's a very rare occurrence that we actually saw 2 weeks ago. And the double expected move to the downside would be 427.67. Now, our max pain level is 429. And just to kind of explain what max pain is, max pain and the max pain level, this is where the most amount of call option buyers and put option buyers would essentially have their options expire at 0, right, and expire worthless. So 429 is that max pain level, and there are two ways that traders tend to look at this, okay? Option number one would be that price tends to gravitate towards that max pain level as market makers are looking to, if they are sellers of the call options or put options that traders are buying, then essentially they would make money, okay, if we reach max pain and the options that they sold to those buyers, whether it's retail or institutional traders, experience max pain and go to 0, then that would be just be straight profits for them, right? So that's theory number one when it comes to max pain, is that we could gravitate towards there. It is below the expected move for the week, so we would need a very strong move, very close to double the expected move to get to that max pain level. Now, option number two is that some people think that price tends to stay away from max pain, and it actually tries to push farther and farther away from max pain. And that would be a little bit more bullish of the current price level that we're at right now, and would suggest that SPY, even if it does pull back, it would still try to hover above that 429 level and try to move away from there rather than pulling back towards it. Okay, so that's one way to look at it. One thing that I find is really interesting, these purple lines, these are all of your dark pool levels, okay, which, by the way, all of this information is accessible in the Discord. We have a nice bot in here, and you can simply just use some of the commands to get the gamma levels, right? So we're getting the gamma levels for the SPY for the upcoming week. We're looking at the max pain level for SPY for the upcoming week. And then the dark pool levels, I like to look at the last 10 and 30 days to see the highest dark pool levels and see where most of the dark pool prints are. Again, all of that is accessible in the Investment Intelligence Discord. The bot has many other functions and features too. It can even pull up charts for stocks. It can chart them for you as well, drawing support and resistance. It can do the fibs for you, different things like that. I just wanted to include that. Basically, that is included in the Discord. So if you're interested in these type of levels and you want to get them for other stocks than the SPY, that is all accessible through the Discord. Okay. Now, what's really interesting to me is that the dark pool prints right now are all basically right at key levels, right? So our weekly expected move is right near the dark pool level of 433.83. Okay, and if you take a look at the gap fills, right, if we were to go back to a daily time frame so you guys can see the gap fills and visualize them a little bit more yourself. Okay, what I want you to take a look at is look at how there are dark pool levels right at the gap fills. Okay, so right here, if SPY was to fill this gap down, there was a dark pool print, a large dark pool print just 16 cents below that 430.86 gap fill. Right at 430.7 was that dark pool. So was this a huge buy order? All right, and then the market just so happened to gap up right afterwards. Really, really interesting. And something to consider, right? If this was, we're talking about billions of dollars. All right, those positions are sitting in very nice profit if that was a buy order on that dark pool print from 430.7 all the way now to we're up at 440.61 is where we closed. And take a look at the same thing, right? If you continue heading lower, all right, where the gap begins essentially on the previous gap, right? There's a huge dark pool print at 426.61, and the gap fill basically begins right below that level. So again, we're seeing these huge dark pools right where the gaps are starting and closing at, right? Again, another one here, just above the previous gap fill at 423.49, we have a dark pool level at 423.6. So it's really interesting to me, right? And the previous one was right here at the close. So, if these are buyers, it seems that, they do seem to have some type of edge in the market or some type of influence. And maybe it's just a coincidence that whenever they're placing these orders where the market happens to close, and then right above the highs of the market, you see the next day we gap up, and then there's a huge order at the bottom, basically at the open of that daily candlestick, and then a huge dark pull print at the close of that daily candlestick. And again, we see another gap up right after that. And if you take a look at where SPY bounced on its previous day candlestick on Friday, look at where we bounced. We bounced right at the dark pool level of 433.83. Okay, so pretty interesting stuff to me right now. If we do, let's say that these are net buyers. Okay. Are these going to be potential areas where the market looks to find support, right? Notice that that dark pool level, again, we mentioned is right at the weekly expected move. And so, let's say we do creep up out of it. Are there going to be buyers that step in here, okay, near those dark pool levels to potentially push us back up higher and prevent us from getting these gap fills down below? That's something that I'm going to be paying attention to, especially due to the fact that all of these dark pool levels are right around the gap fills in really important levels. So for the SPY, that's pretty much all of the main levels that you guys want to pay attention to and be aware of for the upcoming week. Hopefully you guys have a green trading week, whether it's going long, whether it's going short. Remember, cash is a position. So if things are unclear to you at the moment, you can always wait for clarity before feeling the need to always force a trade and be forced in going long or short, whether that's the right trade or not. If you are new to the channel, I did actually start a free newsletter for you guys called Investment Intelligence, giving out free trade ideas and valuable finance content. These are what some of the trade ideas will look like, highlighting the conditions and showing the chart. You can see how a lot of these trades have played out, right? Not everything's long, right? Sometimes there's short trade ideas. This was one on home builders over 2 months ago, highlighting the different home builder ETFs as well as some individual names. Okay. And you can see the home builders ETF actually dropped about 18.5%. From those highs, we have SWK, Stanley Black and Decker, Rising Wedge, highlighting that chart pattern, going over some of the price targets to the downside. And you can see that that trade played out perfectly there as well. So sign up for the newsletter. It's completely free to you guys if you want access to the Investment Intelligence Discord, where you can see all of the different trade ideas and see how I'm structuring some of these trades, what trades I'm looking at. All right, you can join that as well. There's a link in the description for that. It's less than a cup of coffee a week. All right, you also get access to all of the flexible grids for many of the data. The chart that I just went over with you guys is one of the flexible grids. It's the SPY Gamma expected move dark pool levels chart. And this is available to all the members, right? So if you join the Discord, it gets updated every week by me, and you can just come in here and access that shared flexible grid with you guys. And all of the hard work is already done. All of those levels are already charted for you. This and many other features come inside of the Discord. If you enjoyed today's video, okay, you can always visit my Ko-Fi page, click on this buy a coffee button. It's basically a way to leave a tip or donation on that Ko-Fi platform button. You can also request a YouTube video on the topic of your choice, and you can book a one-on-one session with me. I do 30-minute and 1 hour coaching sessions. You can book those directly through that Ko-Fi platform. Thanks again for watching. Smash the like button and subscribe for more.